Please welcome to the stage, from Wise Design Director, Nikki Godley.
Wow. Hello. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Hi to everyone online. Make sure I can work the clicker. Great. I'm Nikki. I'm a director at Wise, and I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about the journey that we've been on. We have a big mission at Wise. We want to build the best way to move and manage your money internationally. We already handle about 5% of the world's money, which is a mind-blowing figure for me. But if you look at it another way, we still have 95% left to go. I lead a few teams embedded in different squads. Discovery, which is our web experience. Product, tooling, and brand, which forms our design system. And Wise Platform, which is our global infrastructure payment solution for banks. I look after these teams, which is really to say I look after people. Some truly amazing people have invested their time and energy as I work through a ton of iterations to be the person who stands up here today. When I talk about investing in people, what I mean is giving back time, energy, opportunity to help them see and realize their potential. When people feel like someone, or a bunch of someones, even better, are invested in them and are actively, generously working towards developing their potential, the quality of the work goes up. And you know what? Quality is definitely contagious. Once you catch that quality bug, it spreads like crazy. Since I joined at Wise 2 years ago, design has really taken off and gained industry recognition for our work. Until recently, design was a service, and that's not bad. That's just the ride that most of us are going on. And we've worked really hard to catch up to our product and engineering partners and to be seen as a partner to product, and that doesn't happen overnight. I'm going to cover our 5 design principles at Wise with examples of how we've invested in people or invested in quality to make great strides. But first, I feel like I have to give you a bit of context. At the start of 2022, we had 2,300 people working at Wise. By the end of the year, we doubled. Hiring a VP or a CDO is a signal that the C-suite, or someone in it, is ready for design maturity to really level up. For us at Wise, that person was Nilan, our CPO. He hired a VP of design, and that VP of design hired 63 designers, which effectively quadrupled our team size. When we asked him recently how he explained this large investment, he said, there wasn't really a need to. There hasn't really been a need to challenge the ROI on design. There's just been an obvious need to do it. He could see the potential, which was really cool. I'd worked with Josh, who was the new VP of Wise Design before, and he kept pinging me to come be his design chief of staff. And I was like, I don't even think that's a thing. I've never heard of that role. And he said, I have a ton of shit you can help me with. Dude, just write your own JD. So I thought about it, and I guess when I distill that chief of staff role down, it's all about velocity. It's not about how fast you can go, though. It's about moving at speed in a specified direction. It's in our DNA at Wise to disrupt, to want to do things differently, and to imagine the world working differently. And the direction Josh wanted our team and our brand to head in was different by design. Who wouldn't sign up for that? Wise is really proud of our NPS and our growth through word of mouth. The product NPS is 68. I think most people are probably familiar with it, but just at a really high level. NPS is Net Promoter Score. And we ask people, how likely are you to recommend your product, Wise, to a friend on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100? Unsurprisingly, Wise puts a lot of emphasis on our employee NPS, which we benchmark annually through our cultural engagement survey. When I joined Wise shortly after Josh, my key KPI was our design NPS, and it was really bad. Not good, minus 60. Nobody wants that, but today we're up 84 points, and we still have a lot of challenges, and I'm not saying this is good, but is it progress? Yes, up and to the right. So how'd we do that? Which brings me back to our 5 principles. Be a designer is our first principle, and it's all about craft. Back in 2022, when we were all new, Nilan was probably wondering, so what do I get for this investment? So we did what designers do so well. We had a sticky note fiesta. A leadership offsite is a really useful way to create shared understanding and momentum. A key output of that was our draft mission and principles. Our design mission is to light the path to imagine and make the world's most delightful, memorable, and meaningful fintech products. If be a designer is our first principle, we really needed to define what we meant by designer. We'd added more disciplines in the hiring spree, and was design really fit for purpose? We decided we really didn't have a naming problem, we had a perception problem. Being a designer isn't about who's the best at Figma or who went to the best art school. It's a mindset, and if you don't believe me, AI agrees with me on this one. It definitely took time to stick, but our content designers and our researchers, they all identify as designers today, and that collective identity is really powerful. Another challenge we had to overcome, which might sound familiar, is how to create connection when most of your designers are embedded in product teams. We did this in part through rituals. We established a monthly design town hall. Crucially, it does three things. It's predictable, it happens every month, and the format's largely the same. It's curated, not crowdsourced, so we look for a mixture of perspectives, a mixture of topics, and we cap the talks at 10 minutes to keep everyone interested. And last, it's safe. It's a space where designers can come, they can practice presenting, and they'll feel really comfortable. When I started Design Town Hall, I had to really dig for people like, does anyone want to do this? And the answer was no. But 6 months in, I had a waiting list, and attendance was way up, which tells me we were providing a ton of value, and that's success. We also introduced an annual event, Design Day, which we've held for 2 years in a row in London, where we fly everyone in. And we focus on aspiration and celebration with a series of talks, panels, activities, and guest speakers. Are there any Rory Sutherland fans in the audience? No? Well, we had him this year. You should definitely look him up because he blew our engineers' minds. But anyway, we have rules here. There's no sticky note fiestas, and there's no laptops allowed. Nilon makes time to come, but this year he also asked if we could put on Design Day for all of product and engineering. And when your CPO goes from, what have I just bought, to how do I get more, design is definitely doing something right. While I was doing this work, I was really reminded of a mentor I had, a woman called Kath. She invested a significant amount of time in me, teaching me about communication, narrative communication workshops. And I handed over the ritual to our new design ops manager, and I'm making time to show him what I've learned from Kath and from others. And one day, he's going to do the same for someone else. The next time someone asks you to think like a PM or think like an engineer, rebel. Think like a designer instead. This principle is asking you to bring your training, your experience, your skills, your craft, and your wild-eyed creativity, and your unflinching attention to detail. Bring those things every day and execute to the highest level of your craft. That's how to be a designer. Our second principle is now next feature, and this one's all about strategy. There's so much to do, it can be really easy to forget about succession planning and to put it down your list. Succession planning is ensuring that the right people are in the jobs, not just now, but next and in the future. We founded an interns program to help support the future generation of designers. To give you an idea of how competitive it is, you have less than a 1% chance of getting a paid 10-week placement with us in the summer. We were super fortunate at Wise to have an established engineering program, which is run by a lovely woman called Libby Cook, and we could expand that to include design. Our interns program is a chance for future managers within Wise to try out managing in a time-boxed environment. We call these folks sponsors, and they get exposed to portfolio review, they get exposed to interview and selecting their hire, as well as managing someone for 10 weeks. Our program culminates in a portfolio presentation, and that's a really, really practical takeaway for these interns who are competitively trying to get jobs, because it's something for their portfolio that they can take. So we've increased our headcount since we started it. Now we take 8 interns every year, and we've expanded to take grads. So we just hired 4 permanent grads. I had 1 accept today, and we're going to take 4 next year. We look for potential over perfection every time. Skill can be taught, but qualities like taste, curiosity, determination, they're much more inherent. In college, one student in motion design would get a paid summer internship at a small video game company called Harmonix, and my teacher worked there as well as the ECD. I was super shocked when I got it, and he said to me, you're not the best. What everyone wants to hear. You're not the best, but you work the hardest. And if you keep working hard, one day you'll be great. I've handed this over to a wonderful researcher called Pete. He's in the blue top here. And he's doing an amazing job developing this program, adding grads, and he's done so much already for these smiling faces. Now, next feature. This principle is all about understanding constraints, whether it's deadlines, timelines, people, or process. As designers, we really need to think about the first steps and the big picture. Initial design should provide scaffolding, including the foundations for future growth, and it should fit into the overall ecosystem. Do the right thing, not something, is tied to impact. At the end of last year, we released one career map for all of our multidisciplinary design team, and we moved from a tiered salary band system to one equitable band. How did we do that? Well, the career frameworks we'd inherited in 2022, they weren't conceived with the level of scale that we'd reached. We also had this two-tier reward system where some designers were rewarded more than others. As an output of that leadership offsite, our head of content design, a lovely guy called Rob, and I got the unenviable task of reimagining our career framework. I don't know if has anyone ever tried to do this? Put your hand up. Yeah, it's really, really hard. So, Marcus. But Rob and I believed if we had this one identity design, we should have one framework for career progression, and we should have one band where we rewarded all designers the same. We defined our aims. We wanted to be comprehensive, so as complex as it needed to be, but as simple as it could be. Progressive. We wanted to do something unique. And universal. We really believed we could make this work for 5 disciplines. As we started developing the key skills and refining the principles, I had an idea. I wondered if it was possible to map the skill, what you do, to the principle, the behavior of how you do it, to the mission, why you do it in the first place. When we got to this one view on one slide, we knew it was the right thing to do. You can see the 5 design skills, what others might call core competencies, mapped directly to our 5 design principles or behaviors. Together, the design skills and principles sit like pillars beneath our mission. It was definitely not the easy thing to do, because while that was a breakthrough moment, we still had to go through every single level and look at IC and manager, and it took a while to figure out. But we did it, and actually a year and some change on, it's still really solid. Assessing everyone in this way, it also advanced the reward discussion. I'd been working with different teams to collect data for about a year. So recruitment data, exit interview data, engagement survey data, but the most important data that you're going to need if you want to do something like this is market data. Reward is very led by the market. And all of this went into a business case to change the pay structure and design. And it had steps, and it had setbacks, and it required a lot of negotiation. But we were able to create that change we wanted to see. And if we can do it, I believe you can too, or you can at least use us as a data point. Fair compensation and progression really matters to people, and disciplined tiering is just one example where we have more to do as an industry. This is Priya, the head of brand systems. She's literally the quality bar for brand design at Wise. Recently, I supported and encouraged her to go for the promotion that she'd earned just a few weeks before she went on maternity leave. Unfortunately, a lot of women are still overlooked for career progression opportunities. And I couldn't wait to tell my friend Kristen, who was my MD, when she had supported and encouraged me to go for promotion when I was pregnant. We all need more Kristens. The right thing to do, it's often the harder thing to do, but it can be so worth it. We shouldn't mistake activity for delivery or as a road to quality. Remember that motion isn't necessarily progress. Question and challenge yourself to think bigger, to work smarter, to prioritize better, and challenge others to think that way too. Our 4th principle, storytelling isn't optional. It's tied to influence. All of the progress I talked about, when you invest in people, it starts to become super powerful if you also put a focus on elevating the quality of the work. Our definition of quality is simple, exceeding expectations, less simple to do, easy to say. When I started at Wise, designers did not put work from Wise in their portfolios at all. They were not proud of it. And that's completely changed since the rebrand. And we've talked so much about that publicly. In fact, we were here talking about the rebrand last year at George. So I really want to focus what we did after the rebrand and talk about how we've been able to continue investing in brand work by solving our projects as customer and business problems. So we solve customer and business problems through brand work. Before I give you some examples, I'm just going to put some faces to a name. So this is Luke, who's the ECD at Ragged Edge. Ragged Edge is awesome. They're our branding partner, who we do most of our branding work with. This is Rosie, who's a group design lead at Wise, and Coda, also a group design lead at Wise. Coda was passionate about bringing custom type to a larger global audience, but type is like a really hard sell as a standalone project. Like, what's my ROI on kerning projects? It doesn't really exist. But 6 months after the rebrand, we released an updated version of our Wise Sans font, which included Greek and Cyrillic, as well as many more languages. And we were able to do that because we solved an engineering resourcing issue. The expressive characters, or the glyphs, needed engineering time every quarter to be hard-coded. Our proposal included baking in the glyphs into code, and so they'd work universally in all languages, and that would be a one-time engineering effort. So we saved the business money, basically, in resourcing. Rosie was passionate about bringing photography, custom photography in motion to our .com experience, but that's a really expensive investment. And at the time of the rebrand, we'd only just got a stock account. So, it's a big leap. But about 9 months after that, we released custom photography and a promotional asset system. And we delivered this globally, as well as locally tailored for Brazil and for the US. We were able to do this because we solved a customer comprehension problem. Through user research, we were able to confidently demonstrate that there was a comprehension problem directly related to our static stock imagery, and users just didn't understand how our product worked, and so they weren't converting. And that's a big business problem as well. We ran the research again after the release, the first release, and the participants basically repeated our proposition back to us, which is a huge win. But the best part is the graph went up and to the right so much that we just rolled it out globally, and we didn't keep testing. Rosie now leads Wise Platform, where we've worked closely with Luke and Ragged Edge to tailor our brand for banks, fintechs, and enterprises. And I've worked with a lot of client agency partnerships on both sides of the line. And I think what we have with Ragged Edge is really unique. Luke has invested a lot of time in me, challenging me to think bigger about brand. And when we recently sponsored POV Budapest, Rosie and Coda went to talk about their work, but we also brought Luke with us. One of our design directors was actually moved to tears the first time Luke presented the rebrand concept. And bringing him with us to POV is just a small way to say thank you. A lot of our job in design is framing an idea or persuading an audience. Data, facts, and figures are not the most effective way to do this. Stories are 22 times more memorable than facts, so tell more stories. Last principle, have guts. And this one for us is all about leadership. At Wise, we believe leadership can come from anywhere and from anyone. It doesn't just come from CPOs, VPs, directors, managers. ICs have a massive role to play. Just a couple examples of ICs on my team who are really pushing for quality every day. Steph, CQ, and Edwin are our motion designers and brand systems, and recently they've been working on some really exciting micro-interaction patterns with engineers that are going to solve a lot of core usability issues in our product. Goose is a principal product designer in tooling, and he's created Beam. So this is a tool that helps designers, and crucially non-designers, build screens up to 10 times faster. And that's a huge efficiency for the business. Will is a senior product designer in Discovery, and he got our editorial design system over the line. That's something we've been trying to do for about 2 years. This system creates cohesion, and it's being picked up and run by all the web teams at scale. Fix is a senior content designer in Discovery. She writes all the words on .com, and in a company of 5,000 people, my VP described her as the de facto voice of the company. That kind of influence is massive. Last, Kev is our staff content designer in Wise Platform, and he's recently done a very complex piece of messaging work. And it's not only being picked up by teams, but it also significantly reduces our compliance risk. Advocating for quality and companies that prioritize speed takes courage. And when the whole team is focused on improving quality, one step at a time, little by little becomes a lot. And I think that's really close to what Meg was saying. about really, really focusing on the small things. They add up. When I moved from chief of staff, diagonal move, to design director this year, it was mildly terrifying. My background's not particularly conventional, and I'm very conscious and grateful of all the time that Josh has spent investing in me. You have to have guts to take an opportunity that pushes you out of your comfort zone, but you also have to have someone who's looking for potential over perfection. Design exposes us. It makes us vulnerable. But vulnerability isn't weakness, it's a source of courage. Use it to speak up, to take risks, to learn, to lead, and to make things better. Wrapping up. So here are 5 design principles at WISE that shape the behaviors we want to see from all designers in every discipline. And I wanted to end on have guts. Because if you want to create that shift in your company from design as a service to design as a product partner, it's going to take a lot of guts. As soon as you think you can't change a business, or you hear yourself saying, we tried that and it didn't work too many times, you should probably get a new job, or you need to try framing the problem differently. Companies don't get better by chance. They get better by change. And I believe design has a huge role to play in creating the change we want to see. Investing in people, investing in quality, it's going to get you closer to where you want to be. And if that all sounds just too easy, even I need to be reminded from time to time when I get really frustrated about how hard it is and how slow it can be, that it's all a push, and this isn't a canoe tip where the whole thing's going to flip at once. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikki. It was
Thank you.
extremely interesting. The number one top question voted online is, how do you maintain consistency in design quality as your team is scaling so rapidly? And especially, sorry, if you have new hires as well coming all the time.
Yeah, so we're hiring 12 people right now, which is exciting, or we will be over the next couple of months. And we don't focus so much on consistency, we focus on cohesion. So a lot of what we do, I think, is drive that through our system. That's how we did the rebrand. It was all driven through design systems. We have a really big design systems team, actually. I think are we 20 with Eng? It's pretty large, actually, for a company our size. So there's that, but then I feel like the rituals as well, where we're getting designers together to look at the work that we're doing, is very helpful. And the design leadership team meets weekly, where we look at a lot of this work as well, and we get aligned to help our teams align.
Wow. Sounds like a good plan. Second question, I will combine now two. So on the one hand, we see you are actually attracting amazing talent from all over Europe or all over the world. On the other hand, we saw that your internal NPS is not the the ideal spot. So how do these two worlds fit together? So
I think it's really tricky. Like I was saying, I think if you look at the NPS score, everyone would look at that and say, well, that's not what I want for my team. But then if you look at the progress, like, if you go from minus 60 to minus 20 to plus 20 to plus 24, and next time we'll maybe go to plus 40, like it's a journey. And again, it's just that canoe tip. It doesn't all happen at once. And I think as well, within design, you have what you can influence within design, but then you have the harder job, which is like the influence of engineering and product and all the other teams, and trying to influence that culture change. That's actually the harder thing to do.
And in your experience, what was the biggest driver in increasing the NPS to be higher? Was it salary? Was it the team culture? Was it having a cool office? I don't know.
No,
Just
I don't
being
think
advised.
So I think so actually when I talked to, I think it was Daniel from George, our participation rate is like 85%, which is super high, and his jaw dropped. And he's like, how do you do that? It's like, well, we actually take action. So after we get the results, we look at the qual and the quant, we analyze it, we make a plan, and then we play that plan back and say to the team, we heard you, these are your biggest pain points, and these are the steps we're gonna take to try to make this better. And then we go back and communicate that pretty much every month. So like getting the career framework, that was a pain point that came from our cultural engagement survey. So we've not that we fixed it, but we made a lot of progress on it. The 2-tiered reward system, like that was a big issue for people. We fixed that.
Okay, so actually you have it.
It was communication.
All right, amazing. Nikki, thank you so much. A big round of applause for Nikki, please.
Thank you.